Hi, everyone. I'm Yaron Koren. I'm giving a talk called For the Price of 15 Cups of Coffee a Day. So about me, I live in New Jersey, enterprise MediaWiki developer, consultant, and evangelist, and these are some of my the things I'm involved with. By the way, working with MediaWiki, that's my book. I brought one copy here. I'm hopefully someone will want it.
Signed copy of it.
Yeah, I can sign it. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. The new version. It's updated for 2022. I wish I'd waited a few months and then it would have been updated for 2023, but it came out in December. Okay. Oh, let me turn off my camera. Oh crap! I pressed the wrong thing. Let me turn off the camera. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I mean we're very lucky that we use software, MediaWiki, that's open source but requires no effort on our part to keep going, and that distinguishes us from a lot of people who are involved in and try to make money from open source software. I mean, it puts us in company with people who use things like Linux, obviously the whole LAMP stack and WordPress and Drupal and all of those. But there's a lot of other, although not entirely actually, because with those, there is a community that has to keep things going to keep the the main software going, and we just really don't have to worry about it. Those of us who are not directly involved with core MediaWiki. Yeah, it's maintained by the Wikimedia Foundation and a large group of motivated volunteers, and presumably it will be for the foreseeable future. So what about extensions and skins, though? How well maintained are those? I would say there's four categories for those. There's the ones maintained by the Wikimedia Foundation or Wikimedia Deutschland or Wikimedia Germany. That's extensions called Visual Editor, Scribunto, Wikibase. I put because that's Wikimedia Germany. There's the ones maintained by a company. I put Semantic MediaWiki in this group because I think I think it's at this point de facto maintained by the company Professional Wiki, based in Germany. They might disagree with that, but that certainly seems to be the case at the moment, I would say. Social Profile is maintained by Fandom. WSO Auth is maintained by, isn't that right? Social Profile, I think.
I think Jack Phoenix.
Yeah. Oh, not Fandom. Yes, Fandom. Just what? Jack Phoenix, but he works for Fandom.
No, he's just a guy in Denver.
Just a guy. Okay, take Social Profile off that. For some reason, I thought it was okay. Maybe because it shows up in the category of like extensions by Fandom or something on MediaWiki.org.
I think originally it was made for a company called like GM Armchair.
Yeah, GM Armchair, which was bought by Fandom or back when they were Wikia. Okay, well, all right. I apologize, Jack Phoenix, and thank you for maintaining this extension. WSO Auth, I think I'm on firmer ground that it is an OAuth extension maintained by Wikibase Solutions. Yes, okay. Then there's the ones maintained by one or more individuals, and there's no point listing any subset of those because that's most of them. And then, of course, there's the ones that are not maintained, which is actually maybe most of them, depending on how you count it. And there's gray areas. Maybe Social Profile at one point was in a gray area. I would say extensions in all of these groups are at risk. At least some extensions in all of these groups. For example, there's extension called Liquid Threads and one now called Structured Discussions, which until 2015 or something was known as Flow. Those are both created by the Wikimedia Foundation to structure talk page discussions, and you'd think, well, Wikimedia Foundation, this thing's going to last forever. right? Yeah, I mean, if you installed liquid threads on your wiki, you're already out of luck. I think it's unmaintained and won't work with the current MediaWiki versions. If you installed structured discussions, you're fine, but you may be out of luck in the future. It's been maintenance only since 2015. I think the same year it was renamed to structured discussions. And at this point, they're better and simpler talk page solutions. So hopefully at some point they'll come out with some way for people to move over all of their structured discussions that are structured to the new format, which is basically just regular talk pages. Yeah. So okay, what about extensions that are maintained by MediaWiki consulting companies and/or wiki farms? I would say those are the safest out of the four groups, because there's a financial incentive to keeping them going. But I think they're still at risk. And maintained doesn't mean that new features are getting added. So, for example, this may be controversial or maybe not, but Semantic MediaWiki, I don't believe has had any new features since 2020. It's been in maintenance only mode, as far as I know. And again, and social profile, not a good example clearly, but it still lacks an extension.json file, which came up as an issue when we were trying to include it in Canasta. It is included in Canasta, but it's not in the best of shape. And there's no easy. It's not just a matter of adding that file. There's well, okay, yeah, it's controversial inclusion, sure. There's no easy way to add that file. There's I can't remember now, but there's bigger changes that need to be made for that to work. One little piece of good news is that so-called zombie extensions can live a long time. If you put in an extension, if you put your extension on Wikimedia's Git repository, then if it's just a matter of staying up to date with changes to hooks and new functions or changes to functions, there will be people who will go in and basically do a global search and replace on every place that uses some deprecated function or something and just change it everywhere, which is great. So yeah, extensions can keep working and with the new MediaWiki versions for a long time, even if the original maintainer has stopped looking at it. I don't know if that's true for skins. I assume it is, although actually I'm not sure because skins break very easily. At least that used to be the case with new MediaWiki versions. There had to be constant maintenance. So I don't know. Maybe it may be more difficult to make sure skins are up to date in general.
Until recently, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right. It seems like the constant changes have subsided. The rate of change has subsided for the whole for the general MediaWiki display. Skins are a sensitive topic at this precise moment.
There's a lot of changes going on, and the changes have to be implemented in the other skins, whether they're ready or not.
Okay, there's a lot of changes going on. Okay, well, so all right. So my original comment was valid apparently. So yeah, I mean, well, so that ties into this next thing, though. Most extensions and skins need more than find and replace style maintenance to keep going and keep working with new MediaWiki versions. So yeah, the bus number, it's real. And here's a photo. This is not a real photo. I created this. This is Linux creator Linus Torvalds driving a bus. So yeah, the bus number is basically, it's a standard term in open source for the number of people who need to be hit by a bus, literally or metaphorically, for the whole project to go under. And you might ask, why is Linus driving the bus supposed to being hit by the bus? That's a valid question. I don't have an answer for that. Yeah, it's a real thing. So yeah, well, does anybody remember these ads? These are from the Christian Children's Fund. They were associated with Sally Struthers in the 1980s, 1970s to 90s maybe. I seem to remember that that was the cliche that she always said, you know, for the price of 1 cup of coffee a day, you could help this poor child in the third world. I looked everywhere. I couldn't find anything that where it actually mentioned a cup of coffee. It was always like, for just 65 cents a day or something, you can help this person. So maybe it's like that that Mandela effect thing or something. I don't know, but yeah, yeah, maybe I was just imagining it. But anyway, that was the pitch at the time. So then I thought, so I did some math. So back then a cup of coffee might have cost 50 cents. Nowadays it costs maybe an average of $3 depending on where you go. So 15 cups a day over an entire year is about $16,000. So it's here. My big statement is I believe that even for just that amount of money, the so-called enterprise MediaWiki ecosystem can be made self-sustaining, getting us past the bus number and all of that stuff. What actually can be done with 16,425 a year? I should have put. Well, let me take a little digression to talk about something called the Google Summer of Code. It's a program run by Google that matches open source newcomers. It used to be college students until a year or two ago, with open source software organizations, and funds their development projects for the summer. It started in 2005. The Wikimedia Foundation has been involved every year since 2006. And I should say I've been involved since 2010 or something as a mentor. So yeah, it introduces newcomers to open source software and to specific organizations like Wikimedia / MediaWiki. It provides free labor. And I should have put, it gives the students development experience, of course. That's, well, it sort of ties in with introducing, but it identifies people who can later be hired. And some notable former Google Summer of Code students are Yaron Koren of the aforementioned professional wiki, and this other guy, Nische Nahata, whom you may have heard of, who's done a lot of development. Now, all these, just briefly, the people selected for this, they're all talented in development. They're interested in contributing to open source, interest in MediaWiki, and they're usually affordable, at least at that point in their lives. I feel like there's a missing slide here. Yeah, well, okay. I mean, the idea is using Google Summer of Code as a source for developers. That's basically it. I mean, I think it's pretty self-evident. If you can find people in ways like this, as opposed to just standard hiring methodologies like going out and soliciting resumes and so forth, it's a lot easier to find people who are motivated and affordable. That's all. So yeah, okay. So we have, let's say, a pool of potential developers who are willing to do the work, and can be and that where $16,000 a year can fund them to work at least part-time. How do we best collect or distribute the money? I think the best option is some kind of organization. You can call it a consortium, foundation, whatever, similar in concept to well-known open source organizations like the Linux Foundation, the Document Foundation, which handles LibreOffice, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, I thought about how it could be structured. I think it would make sense where someone's vote is directly related to the size of their financial contribution. Which is I think the generally the way these kinds of foundations work. I actually tried to do this, so it's not completely out of the blue. I set up something called the Enterprise MediaWiki Consortium. I can't even remember. I think it was about 5 years ago. Maybe 6 or 7. One reason it failed is that the Wikimedia Foundation doesn't want the word MediaWiki to be used for money-related purposes, so they notified me of this fact. So my new idea is the Canasta Foundation. Now bear with me. So you've heard about Canasta already. It's a Docker-based framework. It's meant to be universal and flexible. Currently includes around 150 extensions, 10 skins, and it provides a rough guarantee that all the software included in it will work. I think that may be that's one of the key things that makes me think that Canasta is a good fit for this kind of financial organization. Well, so yeah, obviously calling it the Canasta Foundation solves the naming problem already, because it doesn't include any trademarked terms in it, well, anyone else's trademarked terms. I also think Canasta is an ideal framework for making enterprise MediaWiki related decisions. I guess I don't really explain that, but because it handles a sort of best practices bundle of software related to MediaWiki and enterprise MediaWiki. It can accommodate a community-based decision-making process because it already has a community-based decision-making process about what software goes in and out and what takes development priority and all of that. And then the set of extensions and skins within Canasta provides an easy demarcation of the domain of such a foundation. So you can say, this foundation or consortium or whatever guarantees that this set of 100+ extensions and skins will work for the foreseeable future. But everything outside of that is just we just won't deal with it. So it makes for a finite purview. You wouldn't have to use Canasta to be involved, though. Obviously, I think everyone should. Just as a case study, there's an extension called WatchAnalytics that some of you have heard of. It was created by two guys at NASA in 2015. The development ended around 2020. It's a it's an extension that I should have explained what it does, but it provides analytics around people's watch pages to show which pages are not being watched by enough people, which of the pages you watch are also watched by other people, and that sort of thing. So yeah, we had a WikiWorks intern, Sanjay Tyagarajan, last year and this year, who overhauled it to get it working again, including moving it to the Wikimedia Git repository out of the NASA GitHub one. And it was deliberately done so that we could include it in Canasta, so that it would be working with the latest MediaWiki, with the MediaWiki version there. The code is now in much better shape. There's a lot that was done, and including now it's been translated into many languages. Before it was English only. So I mean, I think that's a great case study of the whole synergy of the thing, that it's useful, therefore it should go into Canasta, therefore it needs to be maintained, therefore it's getting this attention. And I think bringing money into that and an actual organization makes a lot of sense. It would flow organically into that. Okay, so yeah, I mean, Canasta is not the only game in town. There's something called Open CSP, which has been discussed to some extent at this conference, which in theory does something similar. I mean, it too is supposed to be a best practices bundle for MediaWiki. It's very, I would say, the fact that it's very tied into one company, i.e. Wiki-based solutions, is a problem. It's not really something that could be just adopted and controlled by an outside community where people could just vote to change around the set of extensions and so forth. And the same is true if anybody had the same thought about Blue Spice from this German company Hollow Welt, which is popular, but it's very much tied in with that company. What about the MediaWiki stakeholders group? We've heard about that as well. That's another organization that is involved with enterprise MediaWiki and enterprise MediaWiki, and to some extent making sure that all the software works and remains up to date. I would say it's just a different approach. MediaWiki stakeholders group or MW stake is democratic, but what I'm envisioning would be oligarchic. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but just the idea that you have to pay to make decisions. You have to. Capitalistic. Okay, yeah. I suppose that's fair. Also, I believe MW Stake is not chiefly focused on extension and skin maintenance, although they have talked about doing it or maybe are doing it, but that's not the main focus. However, they could make sense as the ones who hold the bank account if they're willing to do it. I mean, that's a future kind of detail to be discussed. But yeah, I mean, just in terms of an organization handling all the legal and accounting aspects, that could make sense. I don't know if anyone had this concern thinking about it, but could it lead to a hostile takeover? So, this company called Extreme Wikis decides they want to put in a huge amount of money, $20,000 a year. That gives them more than 50% of the vote at that point. So, yeah. So they come in and say, well, we don't like all these extensions, just get rid of these, but we have all of our own extensions, which are really awesome and extreme. So so we're just gonna add all of these in. I think that fear is overblown. How are we doing? Oh, we're doing great on time. Other people may know more about the logistics of open source decision making than I do, but I would say voting in general would be more about how the funding gets allocated, like which extensions and skins should get the most love, the most support, and not necessarily the overall direction of the software. And I'm sure we could learn from other open source organizations about how best to do this kind of thing. Presumably, they all have mechanisms to not get taken over. That said, money talks. So if any company wants to put in a lot of money, that is a good way to get your voice heard and to have an impact. So what's next? That's up to you. I suppose this is a pitch for funding to all of you here and anyone watching at home. We do obviously. This is not an official request for money or involvement, but I really think something like this needs to be done. And it's up to the community whether it happens or not. But I think it'll be hard to sustain ourselves indefinitely if something like this doesn't occur. And well, I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts, but that's my take on things. So yeah, that's it. Does anybody have any thoughts on this?
In the backstage for you.
Oh, okay. Should I? All right, good.
Oh, it's just, is your book digitally available?
Yes, it's right. It's yeah, it's all available for free on workingwithmediawiki.com/book. Yeah, Rich.
Can you clarify, did you say this would be a nonprofit organization, or is this or is it nonprofit or not?
The question is if it's nonprofit, that's a legal question. It might not be an organization, a legally established organization per se, if the money is actually held by another group like MediaWiki stakeholders, in which case I don't know if that would even apply, nonprofit versus profit, but there would be no. I mean, it would function as like a nonprofit, even if it weren't officially one. Yeah, Cindy.
Not speaking officially on behalf of the stakeholders group, but I am a board member, and we have had discussions very much along the same lines many times in the past. The stakeholders group is indeed a nonprofit, has been for 2 years now, and we do already have a fee schedule for members in place. We've discussed in the past having folks with, corporate sponsorship or larger donations being able to sponsor projects. We have not yet brought in a significant amount of money to be able to actually start, aside from a nice cushion that we've used for the last 2 years or so to be the fiscal sponsor for this and the Semantic MediaWiki conference. That being said, I agree with the model, based on, I don't know if you call it economies of scale or, the ability of the group to come together, and we can do more together than we can apart. And there are a lot of wonderful extensions out there that no longer have active maintenance, or that could use a little bit of love, or could use features it'd be great to pay somebody to actually do. And I think it's a good thing. And I unofficially, on behalf of the MediaWiki stakeholders group, think that it would be good to participate.
That's great. Did the mic pick up on that? Okay, great. Thank you. Great. Yeah, James.
So I'm hearing kind of two different things here. Like, on the one hand, we could keep this entire thing sustainable for only $16,000 a year. But on the other hand, we want an entire organization or consortium to manage this going forward. And so I think if you went to someone and said, I am starting an entire organization, give me $16,000, and they would say, for what? What can you do with that? So if this were like a project on Open Collective or some other situation where another nonprofit could hold the fiscal sponsorship, I think that would be a very feasible arrangement. But having gone through the work of starting a nonprofit, getting it recognized by the IRS, I would not get out of bed for less than $100,000.
Very interesting. Should I repeat that? Or I'll just, no, sure. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. James was talking about how it's a lot of work and accounting work and legal, all this stuff to set up a nonprofit. And if you're just talking about $16,000 a year, then it's not really worth the effort. And it's better to use. There's all sorts. There's Open Collective. There's all sorts of organizations like software in the public interest and all the kinds of places that could potentially hold the money for you. That probably does seem like the better way to go. Yeah.
That also raises other governance questions, but we can get to that later.
Okay.
If you're on the backstage, there's another question maybe you want to read from Greg.
Oh, okay. This is from Greg. This is what I envisioned originally for the MediaWiki stakeholders group. I'm not an expert at foundations, but there are certainly many to draw precedents from. In the immediate term, people should join MW Stake, and MW Stake could direct funds toward high priorities. All right.
But it's important to note that Canasta, currently has its own, governance process. It's pretty informal, but it's not necessarily for a fact that Canasta should be, regulated or maintained by the MediaWiki stakeholders group At least it's not been established yet. So just wanted to throw that out there as like a, you know, not immediately going to happen, but here's the situation.
Yeah, sure. And that ties into some of the different stuff I was saying. This, if it really is going to be the Canasta Foundation, it would have a specific, viewpoint and a specific set of priorities and so forth. So just trying to graft that onto a different group might not work. Yeah. So yeah, okay, well, cool. Yeah, that's it. $16,000 a year. That's what I think is needed. And I look forward to discussing this further with anyone, organizations, companies, individuals. Thank you.